Okay, this is for anybody that shares my pain or will share my pain. This is a 68 Mustang with Mustang 2 front suspension and TCI's torque arm rear suspension. And this is a 302 with a T5 bell housing, or T5 transmission and bell housing. Now, scooch a little bit closer so you can see. Right now the motor is loosened, and I will put the jack on the front of it to tilt it. But after attempting yesterday and failing miserably to install this transmission, mainly because it is a whole different ball game with this Mustang 2 motor mounts, which I guess are just stiffer than the old ones, because used to this, without the transmission holding it up, the motor would naturally lean to the back and would give you plenty of tilt angle downward like this for you to stab the transmission. Well, these new motor mounts are pretty stiff, so I had to actually loosen the bolts that go into the block to allow it to tilt, and I'll put the jack on the front of it to lean it back because it's pretty centered and pretty well balanced. The other pain, and you can see it's back a good foot, but this crossbar right here, as part of the TCI suspension, interferes with the tail shaft. When you try to install it, you would have to bring the transmission tail up and over the bar, then lift up the front and then stab in. Well, the placement of the motor and the fact that it's not leaning or anything, and also the pain it was to drop the motor in with this big ass Canton pan, that's not possible either, especially not with the shifter in place. I pulled the shifter out of it thinking maybe that would free up enough space. It still doesn't. Also pulled that transmission cross brace over there because that needed to go so I could lift it higher. Still wouldn't do it. If you try to do like what I just said, you can't bring the tail shaft far enough back to free up this input shaft to be able to clear the bell housing. It ends up binding on the floor. So I did the smart thing today. I went to Harbor Freight and I picked up this transmission scissor jack. And this thing, from what I can tell, is gonna be the ticket. It is on sale right now. It's normally $100. Got it for $80. And this might be one of my favorite Harbor Freight tools. It is, from first just playing with it for a couple of minutes, maybe 15 minutes. The only thing you have to assemble is the casters. It comes pre-assembled, but it appears to be, I don't know if it's powder coated, but it's decently painted. This top part has these wing nuts here that allow it to tilt. You can loosen that and tilt it. It comes with this strap to strap the transmission in place, and it is V-grooved, so it holds this manual transmission perfectly. The scissor operates off of a 1/2-inch drive, so you can either get a 1/2-inch ratchet or you can get a drill or impact. And yeah, it's kind of somewhat difficult to crank up. It's not too bad. I mean, I can do it just like that. It binds a little bit here and there when it first starts, but once you get it going, it smooths out, and I mean, it rolls beautifully. I mean, I'm just barely putting any force on it. So the casters are decent. They're plastic, but this thing is going to be the trick, I think. This is going to be a bitch to get back in because I had to use these rubber mallets to smack it out from between these cross members, or these front frame rails. And you see I have a 2x4 wedging it down because the weight of the rear end is wanting to bring it up naturally. So I have this holding it in place. I'll probably have to slide it further back or add another board to get this lower, possibly, not sure. But I will update once this transmission is in and let you know how it goes, or how it went. Another quick update while I have you. I I've got to call Mavin Performance and ask them, or get their input. He emailed me back and wanted me to call him, but my bulkhead connector in here, back there, that thing with the black tape on the end of it, it has 4 12-gauge pins, something like 19 or whatever, 15, 16 gauge pins, and then like 6 20-gauge pins. Well, let's see what I decided to do with my Sniper EFI, or not EFI, the Hyperspark ignition box. Found a nice little place underneath to mount it, and this little speaker kick panel cut out nicely to fit it. I did check, it does not interfere with my vent. The vent mounts here and immediately has like a 90 that kicks off right here, so it clears plenty well. And this, by mounting it inside of the car, I don't have to pass it through my Deutsch connector bulkhead up there. I can run it straight through the channel, which is what I'm doing. I actually opted to run my heater AC line, the power for this. I'll probably also run the power ground for the Holley EFI, the Holley Sniper EFI, like the EFI throttle body, all going up through this channel, all the way around that pillar, because the battery's mounted on that side and they're going directly to the battery, except for the heater and AC. The heater and AC wire does go back to the fuse block. I'm just routing it across this deck lid area, just like I did the feed wire for the fuse block, but it had to go to this side of the car, so might as well. Once I get these ran, I will snake skin them and heat shrink them ends, just like I did my power cables. And before anybody comments on the same thing I was worried about, these drip rail screws that go into this channel, I will round off the sharp point and then screw them in, so they won't have a sharp point going through. They will have a rounded point, but it shouldn't be enough to puncture through the nylon braid and the insulation. I highly doubt. If it does for any reason, at some point in the future, it's all fused. It'll blow a fuse, I'll yank it out and rerun it, but it would be pretty tight running it through this. And I want to say you're probably not supposed to run Holley EFI and ignition system wires next to this big ass positive lead that's hooked to my alternator. Something tells me it puts off some RFI. And I'm hoping this ignition box being mounted so close to these power leads isn't an issue. These, I think Rudder had mentioned this kick panel maybe being an issue with these power leads. It doesn't let it push all the way back, like it's up against it, but it sits pretty well actually. It doesn't kick it out far. I could route them up and out the top where these come out, but at that point it'll be, those power leads will run across the top of this Hyperspark. And I don't know if that's a good idea either. They're already close as hell as it is. They will literally be sitting on top of it then. I don't know if that'll be a problem or not. That hole there where the antenna normally goes, I'm just putting a plug in. These cables that go to the Hyperspark will be coming out of, it's got a weather pack connector on the thing. I have to order the terminals for the ends because I have to obviously splice this red wire here into the positive where this one is, this ground. I'll probably just run to my ground lug that's right there. And the other wires, love this light, which this that goes to the coil, and this that goes to, I'm guessing, the Sniper. These will be changed to 16 gauge probably and fed through the bulkhead. So I'll take the ends off and crimp new wires on as well for that. And there's the other kick panel. It fits up decently. Don't actually know if I'll be keeping these because I don't know if I like the idea of these front speakers. This light just keeps wanting to turn off and the battery's charged on it. No clue. These Harbor Freight lights are finicky. Anyways, I don't know if I'll put speakers up here or not. I'd like to have speakers there, but I don't know if I like these kick panels. And they have to be a super shallow mount speaker to go in here. Like crazy shallow. I don't want to say it's got like, let's see, I mean, especially with these power wires here, but I mean, you got, so like 2 inch, maybe, 1.75 inch, some shit. Ridiculous. Anyways, that's where I'm at. I got my AC and heater power wires and all plugged up, minus the controls. Have those inside. But I have them just kind of loosely coiled here to figure out how I'm gonna do that. They have a breaker on them, which is that right there. It's also going to a fuse connection. I guess I'll leave the breaker there and just splice onto the other side of that. That way I can just put a ring terminal on this. And I can just swap out that red wire. That's probably how I'll do it. And it'll just be double protected. It'll have a breaker in line and a fuse in the back. But yeah, these white boxes here are some more nylon braid. They're the split type, which is actually what Holley stuff has. This splits open like so. So you can actually add wire, remove wire. I got that just temporary use for me to bundle the wires that go through that channel over there and keep them protected, so while I'm opening and closing the door constantly before I end up pinching one. Also, on to another update on my fuel line that I've been testing. It looks like I've narrowed it down finally. And it seems to be leaking from the stainless hard lines that I made and flared. So I don't know if I screwed up the flaring on them or what. I might grab a piece of it that I have left. And I think I have more tube nuts and collets or sleeves. I might flare up some and just use as a test piece to see if I'm screwing it up. I did notice from watching a video that other people seem to not make as big of a flare as what I did. I didn't think that'd be a problem. I figured if anything, putting a wider lip would make it better or more of a sealing face, but maybe it's not the case. So I'm gonna leave this pressurized for now. It's holding right at 90 PSI now. I already tested the feed line, there's a return line. After that, I'll test my hard lines and see for sure that they are the problem. I might end up having to reflare them or order that, there's a company that makes a tool that is like a lapping tool that refaces the flare. I might order that and just use that on it, if that'll fix it. Hopefully mixing stainless to aluminum is not the problem, because all my fittings are aluminum and obviously my fuel line, the solid line, is stainless. But anyways, that's it for now. Tomorrow I'll come out here and try to put this transmission in, and hopefully it goes well. I was actually excited to get this tool. So it'll get used quite frequently, I think, because, well, at least a couple times, because I have plans for another motor, I have plans for T56 transmission in the future, plans for a twin disc clutch. So yeah, that should make the installs a whole lot easier. Oh, and one other thing I did today, oh yeah, I stumbled across some grade 8s for my motor mounts. I think those will work. They might be too long. But I also drilled these holes out. These are for the pump sprayer for your windshield wipers. I drilled them out, and I'll be using, I think it's 1/4 bolts that I have. Just passing through button heads from the back side and putting a nylock nut on this side. Like I said, I'm getting rid of anywhere possible where there is a metal screw with sharp points. I am changing to stainless hardware bolt and nut, if possible, or rib nut. Oh yeah, one other thing. In case, I've mentioned this before, in case anybody's planning on doing any kind of wiring stuff, EFI stuff, look up, just search wiring Holley. and it should bring up his YouTube page. It's Devin Vander something. I can never remember his damn last name. But anyways, he uses these riv nuts as well. These lower bolt holes here, I want to say they were for the steering linkage or something before. Not positive, but I think that's what they were. Anyways, this upper one, these are like the exact, these bolt holes are like the exact size for a 3/8 16 riv nut. So that's what I'll be using. That will be my chassis ground up front. I'll probably put one on the other side as well, just for the hell of it. There is a grounding point on the motor, like right down here on the block. I'll just jump from there to that riv nut, and from this over here to that riv nut. Or I'll jump this down to the motor, and then on the other side go motor to chassis on that riv nut. One or the other. Yeah, he's got some awesome wiring info and tips and etc. So sub him or watch him. It's worthwhile. Good stuff. Anyways, I rambled on too long. Thanks for watching, guys.